Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, or cover 3 examples of modulation. About a year ago I did a video on cosmic drones. For the love of cosmic drones, I've been hanging out with Synchrotron a lot, the drone master. And so I did a little like, hey, here's how I like to do drones video. And that's fine. And someone left a comment on it recently, gentleman Simon, who had some questions. And Simon, there are a ton of videos out there on like the basics of modulation for synths. Not even basics, like everything you could possibly want to know. And so I was looking at those videos and going, should I do one as well? You know, you asked the question as a comment on one of my videos, and I was like, you know, I want to answer your question. We had spoken briefly in the comments, and you had said you used Logic, but Ableton is okay, and you use Massive and the Arturia V collection. And so what I thought I'd do is just do some very specific examples using Massive, one of the synths from the V collection, and then an Ableton example, and encourage you to just search on YouTube for, you know, how does modulation of synth parameters work? And you'll get like a million videos about it. And most people are like trying to, you know, give it to you very quickly and succinctly. It's like everything you could possibly want to know about modulation in less than 15 minutes, right? Or, you know, all modulation options in 5 minutes, you know, depending on who you ask, right? Daniel Fisher at Sweetwater's got one, and Scott over at Synth Stuff's got one, and there's just a ton of them. I would encourage you to go look at those if you need like the underpinnings of what modulation is. There's no need for me to reinvent the wheel there. But what I would do in this video is basically, let's do some examples. Let's set up, I've got an instance of Massive here. Let's start a drone and let's apply some modulations. And just, I'll quickly do it. And you can treat it like a recipe. You can just pause the video, rinse and repeat, and try this stuff out, okay? So let's jump right in. So this is Massive, the old classic, right? And I just have a, we'll start with new sound in Massive, okay? So we've got a, let's see here. All right, I've got some reverb applied to it, but this is just a sawtooth. All right, and I've got a little MIDI control here so that I can turn on sustain and it'll drone, but until we get some modulations in, that's pretty annoying. I'm not going to cover the difference between envelopes and LFOs. I'm just going to do this all with LFOs today. So look at those other videos as far as like all the many dozens, maybe hundreds of types, well, certainly dozens of types of modulation sources. I'm going to focus on LFOs today. Within Massive, if we take that sawtooth and we apply a filter to it, low pass 4, so now, all right, I can move that filter cutoff, and that'll do a filter sweep. And modulation is just setting up an automatic thing that either responds to a key press or runs all the time, in the case of an LFO, that's going to turn this knob for you, right? Right, and turn it in some interesting way. Now the way Massive works is you've got these little slots here. I'm going to assume you've read the manual or you can have access to the manual. And these are like destination slots. So if I want to change this knob using some modulation source, I would go down to these modulation sources like LFO 5 here. I'm going to grab this little icon that indicates I'm grabbing the modulation source, and I'm going to drop it in the slot. Ta-da! Right? So when I press a key, you know, nothing's happening, right? So what I need to do is I need to turn up the amount of modulation that's happening here. And the way we do that is by clicking and dragging on the little slot and pressing up. You see the little orbital that comes in around the knob, right? I think Massive was the first synth to actually use these little orbitals around knobs to indicate modulation range and things like that. And so if let's turn it off, actually. Let's bring it down to nothing. Boop. Oh, close to nothing. And let's start a little drone going. All right. And then I click and drag here. All right, so essentially this knob is being turned within this range by this LFO, right? Now this LFO is actually a combination, we're crossfading between a sine and a saw. I'm just going to tell it, just use the sine by pushing that up. If I push it down, it'll use that's the saw. So we're going to use the sine. You can load different curves in if you want, but we'll leave this one as sine for now. This rate knob is how fast is it? It's very slow. One thing that's nice about Massive is you can get it really slow. And I like slow LFOs. I like slow modulation when I'm doing drones, but you can go. You set it wherever you want. All right, and I'll set the range. Once it's running, it's moving from here to here and back. Right? It's as if the knob was being turned in that range. If you adjust the knob, you can sort of set what's called an offset. So now I want it to start and peak at a higher point and then go back down. I know this is getting annoying. Having a drone that's, even with the modulation running, it's pretty static and it gets grating or your ears get annoyed with it. But let's add a little more variation. So this cutoff knob has more than one slot available to it. So we could put another LFO, a different one, maybe one with a different shape. Let's go get a, let's do a triple ramp. All right. So this is 3 sawtooth ramps in quick succession, and we'll drop this right next to it. All right, and I'll slowly bring this in while this is running. I'm going to actually make this pretty fast, so let's hear it again. All right, so we've got our number 5, our slow LFO. That one's running. Now let's bring in these fast triple saws by clicking and dragging up. So as you can hear, what we're doing essentially is laying 2 LFOs running at different rates. This one doing a slow sort of sine sweep of the knob, and then this other one basically doing a quick sort of sawtooth. So you can get as spacey as you want when you're making your drone music, right? And you can, as you can see inside Massive, there are modulation slots all over the place. It's, pretty awesome. And what you can even do, I'm just going to throw this out there as a breadcrumb, something you can try. If you notice on the LFOs themselves, there's little slots for modulators as well. So we can actually turn this knob with another LFO. So if I go to LFO 7, and we'll make it we'll leave this as a sine as well, but we will modulate LFO 5's rate with LFO 7. And now, when I bring this up, let's get a drone running, and you'll hear the LFO 5 will speed up and slow down. Here we go. Maybe not super musical, but just keep that in mind so you can modulate your modulators too. So it gets combinatorial, and the sky's the limit, right? You have essentially infinite, infinite options. So there's a Massive example for you, okay? Let's try an SQ80 V, something from the Arturia V collection, right? So here's, this is the SQ80, okay? I've loaded a preset in here called Fading Memory, which is already pretty droney. Actually, let's reset it. Here we go. This is what it sounds like. All right. So this patch, I love, oh God, I love Ensoniq synths. This one already has, it's essentially 2 wavetables. They call them trans waves. And the filter is sweeping according to this envelope, right? And the mechanism within the V collection, at least within the SQ80 V, is very similar to Massive. There's these little circles sitting here. See, these are the modulation slots. These are like the little boxes in Massive. And what you can do is, instead of dragging something over to it, you click the little plus next to it, right? So if I say plus, we'll see that the filter frequency cutoff source is currently envelope 1. All right. So we can set it, now I'm going to, rather than using envelopes, I'm going to use LFOs again. So I'm going to change it and say it's LFO1 is what we want to use. And then if we go over here and look at LFO1's tab, you see that it's moving here. And so is the filter now. And similar to Massive, there is on my frequency slider, there's a range, a colored range indicator, the orange bar underneath. You can see the little blue dot moving back and forth with the filter frequency, and that's coming in time with this LFO. All right. If we change the shape of the LFO, let's say we make it a sine. It's based, sine and triangle are very similar, except the peaks and the troughs on a sine are a lot more gentle. So if I play this, and I can increase the amount here. More sort of a broader range, and I can move the offset by moving the filter knob itself, or the filter slider. We can slow down the LFO by bringing the hertz down. That's the rate that the LFO is running. Now there's more than one slot here, right? There's an extra little slot next to it. So we could do this. We can add another modulator to it. Again, just like in Massive, you can have more than one. Let's put in LFO2. And if we go over to LFO2, it's running very quick. It's a very fast triangle right now. Let's see what happens when we bring this in. All right, a similar effect as what we were doing in Massive. And that's how you apply LFOs within SQ80V, it's like something from the V collection. So you'll have to double check each of the synths within the V collection. I think they use the same sort of metaphor for modulation. Again, you've got all of these modulation slots all over the synth around parameters, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, you got some down here. You know, you change your glide. You can, in fact, even modulate the modulators. So here's my rate, and here are 2 modulation slots for changing the rate, right? So the underlying concepts of modulation are pretty consistent across all of the synths that we like to use. So let's do one more example. Let's do an Ableton one. So this is a Clouds drone in Ableton. I'm going to drop it an octave. All right, this is one of the factory instruments that comes with Ableton Suite. And the things we care about are these parameters: noise, noise filter cue, and bit crush. Let me play with the noise filter here. I'll start this droning. All right, so we can modulate the noise filter. We can modulate the bit crush. We can modulate the filter cue. It's a little more subtle. And we can also modulate the LFO rate, actually. Let's do this. That's its internal LFO. So I like the general effect that I get by playing with these knobs here, but I want to automate them. Well, in Ableton, there is an LFO device that you could drop out. Now you can actually go into the synth, and you have LFO options in here as well. And we're going to modify one of them with this parameter macro. But I want to use some external just to demonstrate it for you. So let's turn these LFOs on. Right, and these are can be mapped to up to 8 targets, and I'm just going to map 1 to each. So we will map this first LFO, we'll map it to filter noise, and you'll see it immediately start moving. And it's moving in time with this sine wave over here. Let's start a drone going. Let's bring our LFO rate down again. All right, so that's just our filter noise being modulated by this LFO. Right, and again, I like slow modulations, but you know, you do you. Now let's play with our filter cue here. We will map it using this fast sine. Again, I'm just doing a third example similar to the first two, where we've got something slow LFO doing one modulation and a fast LFO doing another one. And then we'll use this random LFO to map to our bit crush parameter. Little cosmicness, and you can affect the depths, you know, as well. Make it a little more subtle. Or less subtle. Anyway, so there's 3 examples. I hope that was useful for you, Simon. So we did a massive one, we did an SQ80 V, and a clouds. Again, I would encourage you, just put in your question into YouTube search, how does synth parameter modulation work? And there's dozens of videos out there. Check them out. If you have questions, you can of course leave comments for those video authors, or you can come back here and put questions in here. Happy to talk. But I hope this was useful and, you know, a bit more specific to your sort of set of tools you're using. And if anyone else uses Massive or anything from the V collection or within Ableton, if this was useful for you, great. That's about it. So thanks for spending time with me here at Synth Seeker. Have a great rest of your weekend. See ya.